When I was driving in this morning on this overcast, misty day, I was reminded of many times I was driving in the morning and listening to WFMT, which was a station here in Milwaukee, and the gentleman who was the announcer was Obi Yadger. And he would say, this is a contemplative, introspective morning. So in any event, my name is Alex Romashko, and I'm the facilitator for today's service. Our musician today is Chet Salenza. There is childcare available. We're glad to have Tom Boswell, really glad to have him as our guest speaker. Now it's time for you to take. Wait a minute. I want to extend a special welcome to friends and guests who are attending today. I hope that you all join us after the service for coffee and conversation. Now, place yourself to center for the worship. Today's reading is, O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave our patterns of truth and justice into the web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. Every Sunday, we light our chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian faith. Please join me in saying the words. May we kindle within us trouble up here. I extinguished the flame before we get started here. All right. Should have practiced this before. But keep that thought, folks.
Should we do it again?
No. Imagine there's a flame. Okay. Now we're going to have Chet do the morning hymnal, which is Morning Has Broken, which is number 38, I guess, in our books.
Come sing this one with me. You guys know this one? Morning Has Broken. I can see the flame. It's a lot safer too, right? Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where feet pass. Mine is the most sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, eating soft rain. Praise for elation, praise every morning, God's great creation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning, blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word.
The meditation and prayer. Please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. I will read a prayer and we will have a musical meditation. Life, Spirit of life, give us generous hearts. Keep us from contempt from those whom we fiercely disagree with and who help us to learn the way of love for all of our neighbors. Sacred tune. Each week in our church, we take up an offering. It is good to remind ourselves that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. Through pledges, we build our budget and fund our yearly programs and ministries of worship and religious education, pay our staff and religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our building. And we know we could not easily do this without your pledges. So now we'll pass the plate. Our offerings say that the act of giving is essential to our spiritual well-being, as anything else we do here on Sunday morning. The morning offering will now be received. In addition to our gifts each week, we build our sense of community by sharing milestones in our own personal lives, the joys and sorrows that make up who we are. Now is the time that we'll ask you if you have any joys or sorrows to please come up to the microphone and tell us your name and what's on your mind. Take a stone from the bowl as you do, and when you finish, place the stone in the bowl with the water and let the ripples carry out to the wider community.
Hi, I'm Richard Mattel. This is for all the helpers and angels in my life.
My name is Ani, and my joy is to see Mr. Schwansla.
My name is Lily, and tomorrow is my 26th birthday.
My name is Siri, and I'm happy to be here with Lily.
We'll sing happy birthday in a bit. Hi, my name is Chet. I have a lot of things to be thankful for. I'm a happy kind of guy, normally, and I still am, but every now and then I, think about things very intently, and things get, strange. So my concern today, it's not necessarily a sorrow. I have a concern for my mother-in-law, who's just the sharpest thing, and slowly making it more difficult after her operation to come back. And we all went out to dinner the other night, and she was pretty kitschy, and she ordered a mimosa with authority. And so it's nice to hear, do that. And my son, Charlie, has always struggled with his own insecurities. And so lately he's been kind of, wondering what he's supposed to do with his life. So he's fine now. So those are my concerns.
I'm Paula. My joy is the multicultural fair that we were part of. It's part of that Sophia sponsored yesterday at Cutler Park. It was really wonderful. It's hopefully the first annual, and it'll continue to get bigger. I know Chet had a great time doing folk dancing. He said the babes from Romania were really, really hot stuff. We had a table there with our church shared with Lake Country Church, and we had a lot of people come through and express an interest and want to know what we were about, and it was really a lot of fun. So next year I encourage you all to go.
Hi, I'm Marcia Romashko. My joy is that we have been able to go back to our auction items, and this was a week chock full. Patty's meditation walk, the Pavlova party, the pontoon boat ride. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael, and Marcia just stole my thunder because I got to do the meditation walk with Patty on Tuesday and the boat ride yesterday with Sandy on Little Muskego Lake, which I used to live on and hadn't been on in 50 years, so that was kind of fun.
Hi, I'm Reverend David Kramer. You might remember. I just want to say thank you for all of your kind thoughts and a very nice card in honor of our son and daughter-in-law's wedding on July 27th and July 30th. It was a full week for us, and we're just very grateful for all of your support. I also have Del Ravoy, who says that her mother and father's house is finally on the market, and so prayers and good wishes for a quick sale. Adele would have been here today, except she is right now running a race someplace. It's like a 5K or something, so wish her Godspeed. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Denise Cage. On August 3rd, my brother had called me the week before with my sisters and my brother to go up to see my dad. He passed away on August 3rd.
Good morning again, I'm Alex, and I just want to report to you a joyous occasion. Last Monday, we celebrated our 58th anniversary. So she is stuck with me. I had no idea. Then I also have a joy and sorrow to report on behalf of two friends of the congregation, Phyllis and Rick, whom you've seen up here now. Of course, he had a little experience hiking out in Yellowstone, and fortunately he survived, and we welcome him back. And also, many of you have heard maybe that Sabrina Benson, who's now living in Georgia, would like to share the passing of her dear father, Olakun Benson, Sr., on August 2nd. Although she is sad, she feels great joy that you will spend time that you did spend time with him in the last 3 months down in Georgia. So, and I'll put another stone in for those joys and sorrows that are unspoken.
Can we sing Lily Happy Birthday? Come on. All right, you're gonna learn the twisted, you're gonna learn a more animated version. All right, stay with me. All right, the same song. Happy birthday to you. Come on. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Tom Boswell is our speaker today, and he is a longtime community organizer and peace activist from Madison. He's a member of the James Reeb Unitarian congregation in that city. He has done neighborhood organizing in Milwaukee and the congregation-based community, organizing in Beloit, Janesville, and the Quad Cities. He is the founder of the Safe Skies Clean Coalition, a broad coalition which opposed the sighting of the F-35 nuclear-capable fighter planes at Madison, and advocating for the cleanup of massive contamination at that airport, contamination with PFASs. He has traveled on human rights delegations to Nicaragua and Colombia with the witness for Peace and other organizations and has written extensively about both of these countries. He studied journalism in English at Marquette University and freelance writes articles, photos, poetry that have been published widely, both locally and nationally. So please welcome Tom Boswell.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here today. I'm going to go off script right from the start for a couple minutes. I have to empathize with the technical difficulties with the cello sliding because I had my own difficulties getting here. I went on MapQuest or something online last night to get directions, and the directions were fine as long as I stayed on the freeway, but once I took the exit they're recommending, things started to go wrong. They were really poor directions, but luckily I got back on Google Maps on my phone at the last minute and was able to get here. Excuse me. I also want to say thanks for the choosing the hymn. By most of us know it as something hit by Cat Stevens, who is one of my very favorite musicians. It's actually an old, I'm talking about Morning Has Broken, it's actually an old Methodist hymn, I believe, but he kind of made it famous. And I remember years and years ago of going into the main public library in good old liberal Madison and to check out a CD by Cat Stevens. And there are all kinds of profanities written all over it. And as some of you may know, he converted to Islam quite a few years ago now, actually. Check out some of his albums if you're not familiar with them. He's my favorite all-time, probably my all-time favorite album by anyone is called Tea for the Tillerman by Cat Stevens. There's lots of wonderful music on there. So yeah, I'm a professional community organizer. I've been doing it pretty much my whole life. Kind of stumbled into it back in Milwaukee a long time ago. And so I'm not a minister and I'm not a professional speaker. I like to listen to people, not preach at them. So I also just finished a 1,500-mile road trip yesterday evening. So you had to cut me a little slack this morning. As already mentioned, I spent 20 years in Milwaukee doing all kinds of organizing, mainly neighborhood organizing, but was also very involved with the peace movement there. Then I moved to Madison and been other places in the Midwest, but been engaged in congregation-based community organizing. And I think you all are probably familiar with it because you have a wisdom organization here called Sophia. I worked for Wisdom. I was actually involved with congregation-based community organizing in Milwaukee before Wisdom was born. So I'm getting up there in years. And I worked for an organization that Wisdom's parent group, the Gamaliel Foundation, had in the Quad Cities, and then also worked in Rock County. I've worked with people on housing issues and criminal justice issues and trying to protect our water from industrial agriculture and other threats. And one of the first things I did when I just got out of school in Milwaukee was help organize a coalition to stop a major freeway from being built in Milwaukee. So last year last fall, it hasn't been that long, I accepted this very part-time position with WUUSAN, which stands for the Wisconsin UU State Action Network. Until very recently, I was calling it the Social Action Network, which I kind of like. I like the idea of social, the word sociable. I think it's possible for us to fight for what's right in this country and still be sociable to each other. But the idea is to create a state action network, and we're actually pretty new at this. WUUSAN's been around for a while now, but I'm the first person who's gotten paid to work with them. And hopefully we can raise enough money to keep me on board for a while. We have there's quite a few of these state action networks around the country, whether you're aware of it or not. And most of our neighboring states here in the Midwest have state action networks. Two of the very strong ones are actually in Minnesota and Illinois, and hopefully someday soon will be as strong as they are. So we have a mission statement. I'll just read you a little portion of it. It's to build a statewide advocacy network employing the power of the collective voices of Unitarian Universalists in Wisconsin. We uphold the worth and dignity of every person while acting to further justice, equity, and compassion. I really like that phrase, the power of collective voices. That really resonates for me, because I think that's what WUUSAN is about, and I think it's really what democracy is all about. It's about collecting or gathering our voices and increasing our power by doing this. Our voices are much more powerful when we join them together. About 4 years ago, a good friend of mine in Madison who he just retired from the position, but he had been the social justice coordinator at First Unitarian in Madison, which, as many of you know, is probably about the second biggest UU church in the whole country. But my friend Tim and a few other of us activists from the area started something we called Building Unity. And some of you in Waukesha might have heard of it. But we've been really going around the state a little bit since. And WUUSAN endorsed this and is a supporter of Building Unity, which is a project. And the whole idea is to bring people together and collaborate on social justice issues. Tim is actually touring the whole state now. Some of you may have heard of this. It's called a Democracy Tour. They have a 40-foot camper, and Tim and other people in different communities, he's been stopping at, really taking a circle all around the state, which will culminate in probably September sometime and leading up to the election. But anyway, the idea behind Building Unity was to get people out of their silos and for groups and individuals to work with each other for the betterment of all of us, our common good, and for the UU values that we all stand for. I just finished reading this book by Mike McCabe. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he ran for governor the last time around, one of about 15 or 20 people who was running at the time, which Mike felt was great. He really thought the more the merrier. It made our democracy stronger. He mentions in this book that the last two times the Democrats had tried to put up somebody against Walker, it really wasn't the people who chose. It was a small group of people in the Democratic Party who felt we just got to have this one candidate. And it worked a lot better when there are 15 or 20 candidates, because they'd all come through the same town and give their speech and whatnot, and it was just made for a stronger election. But anyway, this book, which is called Unscrewing America, Mike talks about silos. Mike grew up in the most conservative part of Wisconsin, in central Wisconsin, on a dairy farm. And he, if anybody knows about silos, it's Mike. And he said they are no fit place to live. They are cramped, cold, and dirty. They work well for storing feed for cattle, but not so well for storing our collective hopes and dreams. Now, from what I hear, people in Waukesha, I'm talking about UUs, and the Wauwatosa area, have really been getting out of your silos lately. So maybe this is just a Madison disease. But I've actually, as I've started to, I haven't actually, because of the pandemic and other limitations, I haven't been able to travel around the state as much as I've wanted to, but thanks to Zoom, and the phone, I've been able to talk to a lot of people, ministers and lay leaders of congregations around the state. And it seems that people are not living and working in isolation for the most part, at least among UUs. I've been talked to people in the northwest part of the state, the northeast part of the state, the Fox Valley, here along the Lake Michigan corridor, and doing democracy in a number, working with a lot of different groups. The Wisdom affiliates, for sure, but other groups that I wasn't even aware of that still existed. One group that came up a few years ago called Indivisible, and I hadn't heard of them now in a few years, but there's actually strong chapters. There's some UUs up in Door County who have 400 members in their Indivisible chapter. And then the League of Women Voters, for sure, places in northern Wisconsin where I thought, well, there may be some environmental groups here, but I talked to some people and they said, the League of Women Voters is the go-to group in our area, you know. And then there's Citizen Action, which is another statewide network like Wisdom, and other faith groups and indigenous groups that people are working with. Even in Manitowoc, which, you know, I've had some dealings with people up in northeast Wisconsin over the years, and I saw Manitowoc as a pretty small city, and yet they have 6 or 7 different organizations working on all kinds of different social justice issues, including one that specializes with Black Lives Matter issues, another one for immigrant issues, an environmental group. And the UUs are working with all these organizations. So part of what WUUSAN, maybe the main part of what WUUSAN's here for, is just to promote this and assist in this kind of collaboration. But today I want to encourage you to do even more. We all know that these are troubling times we live in. Our country seems to be falling apart at the seams. People don't trust our political system or the 2 major parties, and the planet itself is in crisis. To quote from Mike once more, 2 species of politicians have gone extinct in the last couple of generations. There used to be rural Democrats, be centrist Republicans. The disappearance of these species is a warning signal that we ignore at our peril. So here we are with 2 major parties, both of which have stopped trying to bring together people with different worldviews, neither of which is remotely capable of uniting our country. Where do they go from here? Where do we go? The more I talk with people on the other side, the more I'm convinced we're not nearly as divided and polarized as we're told. What could bind us together is far more substantial than what drives us apart. Yet we have a political establishment that's working overtime to put us at each other's throats, more so than at any time in my life. That's what Mike McCabe had to say about the situation. So with the election approaching in early November, I'd like to encourage you to reach beyond the usual suspects in your outreach. Now, I'm sure that as good UUs, you have all been admirable parents and grandparents of your children, and you probably have cautioned them not to talk to strangers. It's probably, in most cases, good advice. But now I'd like to challenge you to talk to as many strangers as you possibly can in the next 2.5 months. I'd like to encourage you also not just to talk to them, but to actually listen to them, which is what organizers are trained to do and what organizers try to train other people to do. And it's sometimes a hard skill to learn. I would like you to really hear what they have to say whenever and however you encounter them, at a fair or a street festival, in front of the local grocery store. We have a group in Milwaukee called what are they called? Kind of interesting name, something to do with grocery stores, but they do all of their get out the vote work standing in front of supermarkets in Milwaukee. But so if you're going door to door, or if you're volunteering for a phone bank, so my call to action for you today is to talk to strangers, listen to strangers, and in your conversations, see if you can find places where you see the possibility of common ground. When you get these strangers to talk about what's important to them, see if it sounds like anything like the values that you hold as a UU. See if it sounds like the country that they hope for themselves and their children is anything like the country that you also yearn for. WUUSAN is collaborating with the Wisdom Network on Get Out the Vote activities this year. We're hoping to provide opportunities for UU congregations to receive training in what is called relational voting and other ways to ensure that our UU the Vote activities will be successful. I think someone with this congregation told me about a person, I'm trying to get a hold of her, who has done this relational voting training with Sophia. But right now, I want to invite you to an event that we're doing along these lines. We're going to be offering a statewide Zoom event on Wednesday, August 24th at 6 p.m. So I think that's only about a week and a half away. And if you haven't already gotten notice about this, received a flyer, I'll make sure that Elisa gets the information and that she not only shares it with you, but I'm going to ask her and others to share it with other groups that you're working with around the Waukesha area. So it's going to be a presentation and a conversation with Mike McCabe. And I actually encourage you to get a hold of this book if you can. He's written a couple now, and he said he really hasn't gotten much play with this one. The fourth one, the first book is already in its fourth printing, but I think this is a much stronger book even. At this time in our country, I think it's really important book because of what it says about democracy and how we can try to save our democracy. So Mike's going to be talking with UUs and hopefully members of other organizations about how we can talk to people, how we can talk to them about the election, about our values, about democracy, about what they feel strongly about, what's important in their lives. And Mike was a great person to do this sort of thing. Finally, I just want to remind you that democracy is a verb, not a noun. We need to use it or we'll surely lose it. We need to use it every day and try as hard as we can to defend it. This also means holding our public officials accountable, regardless of the party that they belong to. It means organizing so that our collective voices are heard, and that means taking our role as citizens seriously and making sure that those we elect to public office take us seriously. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this morning, and I hope to get to know all of you a little better as soon as possible. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much. Our closing words this morning are from Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see it all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For it is not us who, if not now, when. This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we are to answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be the people of intention and the people of conscience. Now the imaginary flame is extinguished. No fire hazard. Now Chet will do the postlude.
Thank you, by the way, thank you for your words. I do folk dancing, and I teach folk dancing, and there's no better way to unite people than to folk dance. I mean, I always thought it'd be, before every debate, the two sides should do a folk dance, so that, I disagree with you completely, but I have to Alaman right you right now, or else the whole dance falls apart, You have to do the dance, and so uniting is hard, especially when you're bitter. And what's that from The Godfather? Great quote, right, from The Godfather. But he goes, "Don't hate your enemies. It clouds your judgment." If you don't have enemies, and you shouldn't in a lot of ways, it makes it easier to go, okay, I disagree with you, but there's place in my America for you, and should be a place in your America for me. It's kind of a symbol. So this next song, this last song I chose to, is a hard one to sing, because it's asking you, it's saying everyone is good. And that's where it all starts. Everyone is good. I'd like to be a person who does not judge, free to be me, whatever that may be. I don't want to hold a position, don't want to hold a grudge, because it seems to be the cause of a lot of misunderstanding, heartbreak and misery. Looking in your eyes, you're different than me. Why does it have to be say that one of us is better? Can't we both be beautiful even if we disagree? Like the flowers in the garden or the animals in the woods, each one with a purpose and each one is good. Everyone is good, and everyone is good. Nobody's God says hate your neighbor, even if that neighbor doesn't believe in God. Put aside your religion, do your God a favor. Wouldn't be something? Be loving and kind, forgive yourself for everything, having once been blind. Everyone is good, and everyone is